Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. So, Black Ops 4 is I'm gonna be Captain Obvious over here and say Black Ops 4 is the fourth Black Ops title from Treyarch, and at the same time, it is the fourth consecutive Black Ops title from Treyarch. So, for the last, ever since after World at War, we've seen nothing but Black Ops, and I, like the rest of most of the community at least, believe that Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 are absolutely fascinating games and amazing. And the thing is this, we all, myself included by the way, we all have to basically face the truth and say to ourselves, because it's the truth, we have to say to ourselves that, listen, even if they were to remaster Black Ops 1 and 2, and we were to get them both, and everything was great and epic and all that kind of stuff, it's still not going to be quite the same as the original Black Ops 1 and 2. Because we've been there before. So, with the Black Ops series, at this point, we've been at Black Ops basically 4 times now. And I know that every single one of the Black Ops games is very different from one another. Black Ops 4, I think most of the fans will agree that it is probably by far the worst in the series. A lot of people really like Black Ops 3, most like Black Ops 2, and even more than that, like Black Ops 1. So, with that being said, do you think it is time for Treyarch to move away from the Black Ops series? And why or why not? Now, I know that brand naming when it comes to business is something that's absolutely part of the deal, part of the success. If you recognize a brand name, then, and if it's a good brand name, or at least it was, then obviously you're going to capitalize on it and you're going to make something out of it. But at this point, with the feedback that a lot of fans have given from Black Ops 4, and also the way Black Ops 4 was handled, I personally think that that is enough of a hit to basically have them stop making making Black Ops games. I think we need a change of pace in terms of what we're getting from Treyarch. Now, I'm not defending Treyarch for the bullshit of Black Ops 4, but originally these guys were planning to make a Rainbow Six Siege / Overwatch / Call of Duty hybrid, apparently, and the evidence is all there in this game. When you look at how unpolished it is and how unfinished it is compared to previous Treyarch games, especially if you compare it to the more recent one, Black Ops 3, this game is a huge letdown and disappointment in that aspect. And when you even more so when you compare it to Sledgehammer and the amount of content that Sledgehammer continues to release on their game, compared to the content that this game is supposed to have, since it's the main one out right now, again, another huge disappointment. So, with all that being said, I believe that the next time Treyarch comes around, that whatever the name of the title is going to be, whether it's a Black Ops game or not, I think it's going to be a hell of a lot more polished than this game because, well, they already know now that they can't go too far off base when it comes to Call of Duty. They were trying to pull a Sledgehammer, but 10 times more. In other words, they were trying to do something different, but they went so far off base that they got shut down. I guess they apparently, according to rumor or the word that I've heard from other videos and that I've read, is that that they basically had a secret play session with a handful of the pro players or whatnot, and the pro players basically shut them down. They're like, this game isn't Call of Duty. So they had to make changes, and obviously they didn't have much time left to make those changes, so they kind of had to go in reverse and yada yada yada. So the thing is, that is not going to happen again, because they already know what they can and cannot do at this point. They know they can't do that anymore. So, but they tried, but whatever. But the thing is this, if you're going to make a change with Call of Duty, one of the things that you can't change is Call of Duty itself. In other words, first of all, the brand name has to always be Call of Duty, and that's not going to change, thank goodness. But there's a certain parameter you have to live and stay by. There's boundaries, and you can't go too far off base, because if you do, you're going to piss off so much of your fan base, because your fan base wants, at its core, they want a solid Call of Duty game. But at the same time, the trick is you have to keep evolving. but you can't evolve into something completely different, and you can't evolve into something that is, and you can't de-evolve into something that's way too basic. For instance, Call of Duty can no longer be what like Modern Warfare at this point. Modern Warfare 1, COD 4, or even Black Ops, or excuse me, or even Modern Warfare 2, those games are dated now in terms of the way Call of Duty plays now and compared to how they used to play back then. Those games are dated. And again, respectfully speaking, those games have had their time. And even if they were to remaster it and re-release it, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's not going to be the same because we've been there before. And even though we say that we could play that game for a shit ton of time, or we could put in another 40 days game time worth played, even if that was the case, which is, again, even highly unlikely because you get bored faster than you think you would, even if that were to happen, it still wouldn't be the same because we've been there before. So this is one of the reasons why content is so important. The grind factor is so important. Like, for instance, again, Sledgehammer is constantly going to be updating their game. Updating. They're going to be constantly getting new content to their game, and it's been like what, a year and a half now since the game that game has been released, and I think that's incredible. I personally can't wait to what they do next. Unfortunately, COD World War II for me is a game that I will not return to, at least not as of right now, because again, I've played that game after the Division overhaul. And before an hour went by, I found myself feeling no different than I did before I put that game down. I felt very disappointed. I felt, it was because the maps, for me personally, ruined that game. Because I could tell you right now, without a second's hesitation. Now, you guys know how they promoted Black Ops 4 to be quote-unquote tactical, right? Well, I could tell you this. COD World War II is a hell of a lot more tactical than Black Ops 4. I could tell you that right now, even with the specialists and all that kind of stuff, or the lack of specialists from World War II side, I'm telling you, World War II is more tactical than Black Ops 4. And a lot of that comes from the maps and the way the game itself plays. Now, from a gameplay perspective, in terms of the things they changed in the divisions and how they added unlimited sprint, it changed the game for the better. There's no doubt about that. I think you'd have to be a fool to say otherwise. But that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. People are still, the game is still really, really campy. It could still be more random than it needs to be simply because of the way the maps are built. And you need to be slower and more quote-unquote tactical in order to succeed in that game, which is something that I don't want to do to that extent. I could slow down for a few seconds, but with that game, it's more than that. It's more than that. And unfortunately, the question is, why would I go back to that game? Again, I appreciate what they're doing to the game, but why would I go back to that game and just play that game, even with the content that they're giving? They're giving us more of a grind factor and everything like that. Why would I go back and play that game if I'm just going to experience the same thing that I've already experienced before to that degree? So, but for those of you guys that are enjoying World War II, hey, more power to you. I wish I was one of these players. I wish I was like that, but unfortunately, I'm not. If you guys have been watching me for a while, I like to play. I like to move around like a cockroach on steroids, or or a crackhead on double the dose, or a crackhead on adrenaline, or whatever. But the thing is that I don't like slowing down to a certain point to where my style just changes. I understand making little changes here and there and adapting, fine, but only to a certain extent. There's only so much of that I can do. And with every single Call of Duty that has come out in the last, I don't know, let's say 5 or 6 years, I've been able to play the way I enjoy playing and succeeding immensely at it, and adjusting to the things that they add or remove from every single iteration of Call of Duty, no problem. Sometimes I'll struggle in the beginning, and then once I go through that, I basically end up succeeding, and wham bam, after like a month or two. But with World War II, it just didn't happen because it's simple. They went back, in my opinion, and with my experience, they went back too much. Like, they took a step back way too much. They went way too basic to a point to where the gameplay itself even slowed down. So it wasn't just the fact that they went back to World War II and they changed the way how you create classes and all that, but they also changed something that is unchangeable at this point, no matter how much you patch the game, and that is the overall foundation of the game, which is the maps, are just not really catered for all playstyles, especially mine. So they're meant for a much more passive playstyle. So yeah, that's pretty much why I won't return to World War II, and I thought I'd mention that because some of you guys say I should, and not just that. There's also the fact that there are players out there that are playing World War II. There's a lot of players that are playing World War II, or at least temporarily, and I really wish I was, at this point I almost catch myself wishing that I enjoyed a more passive playstyle, but I don't. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. So let me know down in the comment section, do you guys think that Black Ops 4 will be the final Black Ops game, or do you think they're going to keep milking it? And what do you think they should do? If everything was in your control, what would you do with it? But anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, and as always, if you did, let me know. And if you didn't, let me know what I could do to make my videos better. I'll catch you guys on the next one.